Hey you guys, it's Moonlander back with another horror book review. And today we're going to be looking at a 2005 book by Keene called The Conqueror Worms. Now this book was suggested to me on my top 5 horror books video, and I had The Rising by Keene on that list. And somebody suggested to me that I try this one. So this story is told by an 80-something-year-old man who is living in the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia. And now he's in bad shape, his home is in ruins, he can't feel his legs, and he knows that he's dying, and he's also suffering from nicotine withdrawal. And he wants to write how he got to this point down. So he goes back, I don't know, a month or so, and for some reason it starts raining all around the world and it will not stop. So everything's getting flooded. Where he's living in the Appalachian Mountains, it hasn't gotten that high yet. But, you know, cities and states are underwater. Yeah, so things aren't looking too good for the human race at this point in time. And now they did evacuate this area where he's living, but he refused to go. And as the story goes on, he does discover that his friend is still there, as well as one of his crazy neighbors. Now, while living through these rains, he also discovers how there's a white fungus that's growing on plant life, and he even discovers a deer that has it growing on its hind legs. And he also has about 2 feet deep of worms surrounding his carport. And as he looks around for other survivors and supplies, he discovers buildings that used to be there are completely gone, replaced by sinkholes. And eventually he discovers a worm that's the size of a Saint Bernard, is the description in the book. And yeah, they get even bigger than that. And now about 1/3 to maybe halfway through the book, another character is introduced. And he ends up in these mountains where this 80-year-old man's living. And the book changes and tells you this guy's story about how he ended up in these mountains and about him surviving in an inner city. I believe it was Baltimore. And him and a group of survivors are living at the top of a tall apartment building. And their concerns aren't worms, but they have surfboarding Satanists, mermaids, and kraken to deal with, and the white fungus. So the things I liked about this book is he does make mention of Ob and you know, that whole demonic thing that's mentioned throughout a lot of his different stories. And I guess you'd just say like it's part of the Keene's universe, and that it's mentioned in a lot of the books that I've read by him. And I will say, like most of his books that I've read before, this is not a dull book. It's fast-paced, it's a quick read, and it's entertaining for the most part throughout the whole thing. And I would definitely say that I really like what he does with post-apocalyptic type of stories. I mean, there's really no hope. I mean, I don't know what the long-term survival plan would be when there's non-stop raining worms, mermaids, and krakens out to get you. But yeah, it's a real grim type of story, but you're still like rooting for these characters you're reading about just to survive another day. And I like that about his writing. And I would definitely say it's full of really crazy and strange and fantastic ideas. And I mean, it just makes for a really fun reading experience. Like when they were mentioning this mermaid, like, I mean, that sounds kind of dumb, but at the same time, it was pretty cool. And she's more like a siren trying to lure people in the water and stuff. And I thought it was fun to read about myself. Okay, so the things I didn't care for about this book is I didn't really know what to expect. Like, I mean, I didn't read a description of the book. I just ordered it. And, you know, the cover of the book shows these big worms, like, tearing buildings apart. Like, so I thought that there was going to be a lot of focus on these really big worms, like, destroying cities and stuff. And really, there isn't that much action in this book involving the worms. I mean, they are in it, but I just was surprised by the lack of content about the worms, really. And I would also say I thought he might have made them more terrifying. And while they are a scary idea, all they really do is like swallow people. And I mean, it might have been cool if he like included like a terrible description of them digesting the people or something. There was nothing really spectacular about the deaths involving the worms, and I expected there to be. And I also thought they might have could have included more about the white fungus. Like, it's mentioned and, you know, it's on stuff, but I thought it would have been nice if they, you know, went a little more into detail about it, or, you know, described, I don't know, a horrible death involving it, or maybe a bad guy with it on him and, you know, he's terrorizing people. I don't know. But I thought they could have done something more with the white fungus. And, I mean, these are just minor complaints. That's all I really have. And for my final thoughts on this book is, I mean, I guess I wish it was a little more in-depth. But I from the books I've read of Brian Keene, I mean, they're never really in-depth, extremely descriptive reads. And you know, that, you know, is part of their appeal in a way, but at times I do wish he would explore these cool ideas a little more. And now there is a sequel and a book that's short stories of scenes that are all from different points of view about this world of the worms. And now I would like to read them, but I can't say I'm left with a burning desire to read them. Nothing like the burning desire I had to read the sequel to The Rising. So this one doesn't end with like a cliffhanger, and I'm not like so attached to the characters that I gotta see what's happened to them next. I don't know. I mean, I got so many books to read. I don't really think I'll be purchasing them. Maybe someday. But I will say, I'm sorry I've put off reading Brian Keene. I think I got burned out on him. And after the break I've had, I really did enjoy reading this book. And I think as long as I don't read too much of him in a row, I can say I really enjoy reading Brian Keene. But for this book, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Alright, you guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next review.